Hello, I'm Locke Meredith, and I'd like to invite you to join me on the next Legal Lines, where my guest is Layton Ricks. He is Livingston Parish President. Mr. Ricks is going to talk to us about the wonderful things that are going on in Livingston Parish, but he's also going to talk about the problems that they're having because so many folks are moving to Livingston. He's also going to talk to us about the plans that Livingston Parish Council and the rest of the government there are taking to deal with it. So join us on the next Legal Lines with Layton Ricks. Hi, I'm Locke Meredith, and I'd like to thank you on behalf of myself, Sean Fagan, Corey Ogeron, and our entire staff for being our Legal Lines audience for almost 15 years. Our audience now is over 500,000 households. I'd also like to thank Cox Channel 4 and my friend Eric Coleman for being with me from the beginning. From all of us, thank you. Welcome to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith, and I'm very pleased to have on the show today Layton Ricks. He is the Livingston Parish President. Layton, it's great to see you.
Hi, Locke. Glad to be here. Thank you, sir.
Tell the folks a little bit about yourself, because you're in a position, basically a CEO, so to speak, of the business of government for the entire parish of Livingston.
That's true. You know, we got elected and took office in January of 2012. I'm 58 years old, about to be 59, 5 kids, lovely wife who support me. And it was an awesome journey to get there. We've been in politics before, back in the 90s and 2000 with the City of Denham Springs. Yeah, I was on the Fire and Civil Service Board for the City of Denham Springs, planning and zoning for 4 years, and then moved into a council position for the City of Denham Springs.
So you did all the board positions prior to, what, a 4-year stint for Denham Springs Council?
Did a 4-year stint for that, then moved outside of the city limits so I could no longer run for that, and had hoped at some time in the future to be able to run for parish council, and then maybe someday for parish president. Well, some of that got changed up through the years, and I wound up going to work and not being able to, in a position that I couldn't afford to run for parish council because there would have been a conflict. And so when the time came, we took a run for the parish president.
And I understand born and raised in Kentwood and
born and raised in Kentwood
Parish for 35 years.
A little over 35 years in Denham Springs.
So
yes,
that's where your roots are.
Well, that's home. That's where all my kids were born and raised and went to school, and my grandkids are there now, so it's home. Of course, it's nice to go back to Kentwood occasionally, but I had moved my parents over to Denham Springs a few years back.
So did you know the Britney Spears family?
Absolutely, I did know them. You know, I went to school and grew up with her mom and with Britney's mom and dad.
Is that right?
And her mom and dad's grandparents, or their parents actually, were great friends of my parents.
Wow.
They were in each other's weddings, and so we all grew up together.
Small
and it
world.
was, well, it is. And then when Britney made it big with her first hit, my youngest daughter at that time didn't know why we couldn't just run over there and see her. And so I kept telling her, baby, it doesn't work like that anymore. I mean, she's reached this, you know, well, I called Lynn, Brittany's mom, and she said, yeah, y'all come on over. Well, by the time we could get to where we could get over to Kentwood and get to her house, Brittany had left, and we didn't get to see her that day. And then, of course, she skyrocketed to fame after that.
So that chance is gone.
That chance kind of went, but my daughter did get to go to her house several times and has since seen her. And, of course, I've seen her at a couple of different occasions.
That's great.
Don't know Brittany real well. She was a young child when we were all still in Kentwood, but I know her parents very, very well and talk to them occasionally.
Interesting.
Great people, you know, to be around, so it was good.
It's the American dream. Well, let's talk about your employment history. I was reading that you were involved in the medical industry for a long time.
30 years, Locke. Spent 30 years, and it was a very rewarding career. Enjoyed helping a lot of people. I loved the emergency room work. Loved being around the orthopedics, and spent most of my time in orthopedics out of that 30 years.
And then had some management jobs and positions thereafter.
Yeah, you know, basically I was an x-ray technician, radiologist, technologist, moved into cast room, and then ultimately for an orthopedist wound up being assistant office manager, as well as all the above. And we used to laugh all the time. I did everything basically but put the coat on when he needed me to. And had a great time with that particular orthopedist. We were the same age, had kids basically the same age, and became great friends. And had just a really, really good time working with him, close to 15 years with him.
And then did some work for an engineering firm,
yeah,
management.
Got out of the medical field about 6.5, 7 years ago now. Went to work for Fairbairn Associates, who are who are great personal friends of mine, long friends. Went to work for them, sort of in a kind of a PR position, but at the same time then moving into an office manager position for the front desk portion of the company. And enjoyed it tremendously. Had a real good time, learned a lot. Certainly not an engineer yet, probably never will be, obviously, but I enjoyed it, learned a lot, and learned a lot from them.
So you were elected parish president January, well, I think in 2011, but sworn in, what, January 9th
of 2012.
Okay, and in that position, you're the CEO, and the reason, I guess one of the reasons I wanted to do a show with you is because Livingston Parish is always, in the last several years, either the #1 or #2 fastest growing parish in the entire state of Louisiana. And so I figure, you know, if you want a model of how things maybe should be done to attract folks to come in and want to live there, Livingston would be the model.
Well, we like to think so, and I appreciate you bringing that up. We like to think that way, and I tell you, we give most of the credit to our people. We have just some very warm, friendly, personable, down-home type people that just basically are good-natured, good people to be around. But since Katrina, well, the 2000 census, we've basically gone up a little over 39%. A lot of
population.
In population, a lot of that primarily due to Hurricane Katrina. So we've seen our houses they busted up out of the scene, went everywhere.
Right.
After Katrina. But the prices of homes have been steady, going up. We have 2 beautiful golf courses out there now, Greystone, Carter Plantation. That's been a big attraction for a lot of people to move into the upper scale homes. And we just, we're expected, according to state projections, through LSU and through other routes, we're projected to double in population over the next 20 to 25 years.
So that'd be above 250,000 folks.
We're looking at 250 to 260,000 people projected, and we think it's going to happen. And the council and I are working very hard together to try to make sure that we know we're going to grow. We're already growing. We're growing at a rapid rate, so we want to do it in the right way.
Yeah, it would make sense. Well, let's talk about, because, a lot of the attraction that I hear about Livingston are the schools, that the schools are great schools.
We have awesome schools, Locke. We really do. Our school board out there has worked extremely hard through the years, and from just all accounts, any kind of study or scale you want to put it up against, they do very well. And our students, we've got a lot of attorney, doctor, upper professionals that have come out of our schools, a lot of ball players. I think overall do very well. We just built a brand new Live Oak High School, opened up this past year. I think somewhere around 1,500 students. They're already full.
Wow.
The Watson area is
the demand
booming.
is so high.
The demand is just high, and they're looking at other properties.
The quality of the schools is good for also elementary and the middle school.
All the way through.
All
the way through. We even have, we have some wonderful kindergarten programs out there and preschools. We have a lot of things going our way in Livingston Parish.
Well, let's talk about crime, because I've had Sheriff Jason Ard and prior to him Sheriff Willie Graves on, and Livingston has kept its crime really in the low numbers, comparatively speaking, certainly compared to Baton Rouge.
We have, and I tell you, Locke, Sheriff Graves did a fantastic job. But Jason Ard has come in and has changed some things around. And of course, Jason and I have become very good partners in Livingston Parish and very good friends. He's got an excellent mind on how he wants to shape and do things. It's just gotten better and better. I take nothing away from what was going on because, again, Willie did a fantastic job. Jason's bringing it on up another notch.
And I know he's increased the police force, and the gear and the equipment has all been improved to keep up with the needs.
Well, and his philosophy, and I don't want to speak for him, obviously you've talked to him, but he's put a lot more people out on the roads.
All right, well, we'll continue this on the next segment. This is Locke Meredith with Legal Lines, and our guest, Layton Ricks. He's the parish president for Livingston. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Locke Meredith, and I'd like to thank you on behalf of myself, Sean Fagan, Corey Ogeron, and our entire staff for being our Legal Lines audience for almost 15 years. Our audience now is over 500,000 households. I'd also like to thank Cox Channel 4 and my friend Eric Coleman for being with me from the beginning. From all of us, thank you. Welcome back to Legal Lines. Again, I'm very pleased to have on the show Layton Ricks. He is the Livingston Parish President. Layton, let's dive right back into it. We were talking on the last segment about all the wonderful things going on in Livingston Parish. With all that growth comes potentially a lot of problems just because the infrastructure was there to support a smaller population. Tell us about that.
Well, you know, again, since Katrina, with the phenomenal growth that we saw happen in Livingston Parish, you get behind in infrastructure, your roads, your sewer, your water, all these things that have to be done, and especially with all the development of new subdivisions, more cars on the roads, I mean, just on and on and on.
Right.
Well, along with that, because of the growth, you know, you have money issues. And unfortunately, in our parish, we don't have the industry that supports this. So we're always playing catch up on infrastructure. Our DPW group does a fantastic job of patching and maintaining. You know, we do all that we can from the parish standpoint. The cities themselves, they're busting at the seams and they're fighting the same issues and they're doing the best they can.
And y'all got, 8 cities, right?
Well, we do, and you know, we're growing again so fast. I mean, as you know, Watson is looking to try to incorporate their reach and search of growth rate, and all across, and we're seeing some commercial begin to come in, not only from the Baton Rouge across the Amite River now across Denham Springs and Walker, but we're seeing it begin to come from Tangipahoa Parish, from the east to the west.
So you're getting hit on two fronts.
We're getting hit on two fronts, and it's a great problem to have in one way, and we love the people, and we certainly want them to come on out. But the burden is on our homeowners because they're basically taking care of the cost.
That's the source of the money to provide for the infrastructure.
That's the source, and it's a strain. And no one wants to talk about taxes, certainly.
And understandably.
And understandably, people are still fighting through the economic slowdown.
I would say a depression for the last.
Well, we have been, and we've seen it out there. It's affected a lot of our folks, just like it has all across the country. But we're very blessed in Livingston Parish, again, because people are wanting to move out there. So we want them to continue to come, but we're looking for ways to try to grow and grow smartly.
And so a way to, in essence, help provide for the services and infrastructure that the folks need, you need other sources of revenue than just the homeowners and the folks who are moving in, which means you've got to find businesses and I guess some other way of maybe folks, tourism, because you've got 3 beautiful rivers, Amite, Tickfaw, and Blood.
That's right. That's exactly right. We do.
And that's kind of like what you got.
That's what we have. We don't have the Mississippi River and all these other things that bring a lot of big industry. But what we do have, Locke, that's precious to all of us in Livingston Parish is that I-12-190 corridor.
Interesting.
And we are zeroing in on that. The council and I have been working very hard with the master plan group that's come in, and they're working to try to find a way. How do we grow and grow smartly without forgetting our citizens and the way they want to live and maintain their lifestyle? But at the same time, bringing in commercial development takes a lot of the burden off of homeowners because we'll have revenue to do things that we need to do for them on roads such as that and sewer, water, all these other things.
Well, let's talk about, because y'all have brought in some big business with, I know Bass Pro, and you got Sam's and what else? Well,
since Bass Pro came, that was by a tip. It's done exactly what we had hoped it would do. Now Sam's has come in on the heels of that. We have the new Walmart up in the Watson area. We have the new McDonald's over in Albany that just came in. We have 2 steel manufacturing plants that have just recently come in.
Excellent.
So we're seeing things happen, but what we're hearing through our Randy Rogers at Economic Development that does a fantastic job, and he and I work hard on this together with the council. What we're hearing is how are we going to protect? If we're looking to bring industry or we're looking to bring commercial development in, I'm going to make a huge investment.
You're talking about your investors. This is what they're saying.
This is what we're beginning to hear. How are you going to protect our investment? Well, the master plan, and I know we're getting a little ahead there, but hopefully we'll do that along that corridor while at the same time, again, letting people north and south of there live like they want to.
So go ahead, explain the master plan.
Well, the master plan is basically just a guideline, a plan. But what we did through grant money, they brought in here a year or 2 ago, Winston & Associates out of Colorado, and they had a lot of experience at trying to have hearings, meeting with people, forming a plan, a outline, if you want to call it that, or a guide to future development. growing and growing in the right way. Where do you see growth going to happen? How are you going to address the sewer, the water, on and on and on?
So it
and that's what
anticipates
they
problems.
did. It anticipates problems, it anticipates growth, areas of growth over the next 25 to 50 years. For instance, Sewer District 1 and 2 north of Denham Springs just did a bond, and they're looking now to grow and bring in new plants into their areas. They're looking at future growth. The city of Denham Springs just finished a growth period with sewer moving south, created a district down there and took in the MODAD systems and the single individual homeowner type systems and bringing it in. And part of the reason for that is we already know EPA is steadily
Breathing
passing.
down your neck.
Oh, they want to clean all the water streams, rivers, DEQ, all that wants to get all this cleaned up.
And if you don't do it within the time frame they give you, they fine you.
They can fine you and fine you
They've
heavily.
done it to Baton Rouge.
They can do it heavily. So we're working very hard at trying to, again, part of the master plan, how are you going to do this? How are you going to move forward? Where are you going to find money from? As you know, Locke, things have changed tremendously in Washington. They cannot earmark money anymore for certain projects and certain things. So it's a fight for all, not just our parish and municipalities with the mayors, but all over the country fighting for the different state government to get dollars to do these projects. And it's tremendous in cost, it is. But the master plan will help us focus on where to spend that time, effort, and money.
So it sounds like one of the major purposes and goals of it is to bring in commercial businesses by giving them certainty that their millions spent in Livingston Parish are going to be protected. It's not going to go down in value. And because they come in, they generate more taxes.
That's right.
Which reduces, hopefully, or at least maintains the current tax that folks, residents are
That's
paying.
exactly right. The hope and plan is certainly as that grows and takes place and moves across the parish, and we know it's going to, just for the nature of the way things are growing, that hopefully, and it should, take a lot of the burden off of our homeowners. And,
Now,
and they're taxed to death right now.
And I know that, you know, folks in Livingston Parish, in a lot of parishes in Louisiana, are fiercely independent, and they don't want, you know, the government coming in and saying you can do this and you can't do that. But without that, you're not able to potentially attract the folks you need to come in and invest millions.
You know, you hear it all the time, and it's like the old guy that wants, he wants justice, but he wants it for the other guy. Zoning is an ugly word to most people, and what we're trying to and I hate to use the word educate the public, but what we're trying to explain to the public.
I guess the benefits.
Well, the benefits of it, and by focusing on the commercial corridor, they're going to be able to continue to maintain their lifestyle north and south. And
Meaning control of zoning?
Well, it is. It's basically controlled zoning. It's land use permitting, and it's done in a certain area, and that's legal. You can do that. The commercial industry, all these people are looking, they want it.
So all they care about is the I-12 corridor.
They're just interested in that I-12
So really,
corridor.
all y'all are mostly concerned about zoning is the I-12
Is the
corridor
I-12
to the
corridor.
extent necessary to bring these folks
That's
in.
exactly right. And it will benefit everyone in the parish, while at the same time letting everyone else continue to live like they want to live in their own properties. And I come from a small town, like you mentioned, from Kentwood. I understand. I don't want anybody telling me what color tree to plant in my yard and all this, so we understand what they're talking about there.
All right, well, we'll continue this on the final segment. This is Locke Meredith with Layton Ricks, the Livingston Parish President. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Locke Meredith, and I'd like to thank you on behalf of myself, Sean Fagan, Corey Ogeron, and our entire staff for being our Legal Lines audience for almost 15 years. Our audience now is over 500,000 households. I'd also like to thank Cox Channel 4 and my friend Eric Coleman for being with me from the beginning. From all of us, thank you. Welcome back to Legal Lines. Again, we have on the show today Layton Ricks. He is Livingston Parish President. Layton, let's dive into it because we've talked about the fact that Livingston Parish is one of the either number one, number two fastest growing parish in the entire state, has tons of great things going for it, but because of that and the growth of the population, there's huge demands on the infrastructure, which requires more money to provide for the needs and services in the roads, et cetera. And there's only a few ways to generate that money, either taxing the residents via property taxes, et cetera, bringing in commercial businesses who are going to pay taxes, maybe develop tourism, and for you guys, that's it.
That's basically it. So when we're looking at how do we generate dollars, how do we bring in commercial development, how do we help something like a Juban Crossing, how do we help make that happen? What are the benefits of it? You got to weigh out the benefits when you're talking about a TIF, for instance, like we've been doing.
Well, let's educate folks on the TIF.
Well, it's tax increment financing, and in the case of Juban Crossing, the council is basically the district. They set up the development district for that 470-acre development. So when you're talking about tax increment financing for that development, you're basically talking about future dollars only, and you're talking about in that development only that you'll be spending. And basically what you're doing, Locke, is you're pledging. In order for the developer to be able to get that money that he needs for infrastructure in this case, he's going to use whatever dollars the parish comes up with out of the drainage fund and out of the road tax fund in that development, and that will be pledged to allow him to borrow the money.
All right, so let me see if I can summarize my understanding of what you just said. So you're trying to bring in folks to invest millions, multiple millions, in a store, commercial enterprise to generate tax monies. And the way you do that is you in essence, kick back or rebate to them a percentage of the taxes that them doing business generates to you folks.
Correct.
And the reason that's important to the person coming in trying to finance the deal, meaning the developer, is because he can then go to a bank and say, look, I'm going to get this stream of income. Will you guys lend me some money?
That's exactly right. He'll pledge basically, he'll have to pledge $1.60 for every dollar. And that's huge, because in our case, when you're talking roughly, as you know, we've gone to the state hoping to get somewhere around up to $45 million out of a 1 cent tax, sales tax, from the state, which would have done this, would have taken care of the infrastructure.
And let me kind of backtrack. And because the state has to be involved, is because they get a piece of that sales tax that's generated when somebody goes in and buys a TV. That sales tax, some of that goes to the state, some of it goes to the city, and some of it goes to the parish. That's
right, and we had asked them to give up 1 out of their 4 cents of sales tax in that district only.
And let's make that clear too. So we're talking about if a developer comes in, he says, I'm buying this 400-acre piece of land, and this rebate to me of tax money is only on that 400 piece of land.
That's right.
And is it forever, or is it for a certain period of time?
No, until the bonds are paid back.
Okay.
Once the bonds are paid back, all this money then becomes, it goes into
And when you
coffers.
say bonds, you're saying loan, till the loan's paid back.
That's till the loans. And you know, we have a 1 cent road tax fund that we were talking about, that the council has, I think, done an awesome job of being able to try to decide, because it's a tough decision. There's pros and cons anytime you're talking about spending taxpayer dollars. In our case, I think the council has stepped up to the plate. They had already created the district. They had already pledged 40% out of that 75% out of that 1 cent that they can pledge. Now they're looking at increasing that, since we did not get the money that we had hoped to get from the state.
Okay.
So they're looking now whether to decide to do that. I think it's an awesome task for anybody to go under. They met that task, in my opinion, and they got it done. They got it introduced. Now tomorrow night, they will actually decide on how much of that extra 35% that they're hoping to get will they do. They may do the full 35%, or they may come down to 25, 20, whatever that number, they'll make that decision.
Okay.
The drainage district's doing the same thing out of their 1 cent. So then when we know what that amount is, and we know that developer can count on that as part of his collateral, then we're gonna go back to the state.
Ask the state again.
Because I've met with Chief of Staff Paul Rainwater, who has assured me through the governor that they will support going through their economic council a couple of other ways to try to help get this done.
Okay.
And one of those is capital outlay. Okay. Now the downside for capital outlay from the parish's standpoint versus what we wanted them to do is we have to come up with a match.
Okay.
And in
so
our
it costs
case,
you guys more money.
It does, and that's tough to do because our
other needs out there
our
too.
money, you know,
well, let's talk about the fact that the reason the council and you and the folks are willing to do that, is y'all have evidence that this actually works because it was done with Bass Pro, right?
Absolutely. There's a history that has shown it works.
So
It's
explain
worked
what
in other
happened with
parts.
Bass Pro. Exact same process took place, except the state did agree to cough up
Well, the
a
state
part of
and
theirs,
all
right?
the parish and the school, everybody chipped in, and now they're paying those bonds off early. The development that's come around Bass Pro because of that. And
Generated even more
and
tax revenue.
That's exactly right. And that's one of the things you look at, because I got to be honest, philosophically, I have problems with tips. But in my position as parish president, when I look at the bank account and when I look at what the economic development and the impact will be by investing these dollars, because that's basically what you're doing,
Right,
in future dollars, when I look at what that's going to bring to the parish, 2,500 permanent jobs when this is
No-brainer.
built out. It's a no-brainer. And while this is being paid back, while the bonds are being paid back, you're generating a lot of ad valorem property tax off of the build-out.
Okay.
And that's estimated somewhere around $155 million.
and let's point out to the folks too, Layton, that this is not something that normally you guys would have done, except that you have to do it to get folks, these big businesses to come in, because the competition is everywhere. Baton Rouge is going
That's
to be
exactly
doing it.
right.
States all over this United States of America are setting aside millions and millions of dollars.
They're
to
doing
do
it
this.
everywhere. These malls have been done like this all over the country, and and even in Louisiana they've been done. Now, you know, you hear things like, well, this developer that may come in after this, he may not need a TIF. Well, he may not. But this guy, this developer now has persevered through roughly 6 years, millions of his own dollars, lots of blood, sweat, and tears that he's invested already. Now we're right here at the cusp of starting. And I think maybe in the next 30 days, you're going to see some activity out there on that property. He's so close. So we don't want to start over again. We want to help him reach the finish line on this thing, because, again, it benefits everybody in the parish. Kids that are going to college at Southeastern, LSU, Nichols, other areas, they'll have some part-time jobs there right there in their own parish. Tax dollars that the homeowners are going to Baton Rouge, Tangipahoa, Ascension and spending, they'll be spending in their own.
Wow, that's an interesting point.
They'll be spending right there at home.
And they're going to, in essence, get the money that they're spending in taxes over in East Baton Rouge.
It's
or
all
some
going to
other
come
parish.
right back. And what does it ultimately do? It will ultimately reduce the millages, the taxes for each homeowner that's basically carrying the load right now.
Interesting.
So while you may be philosophically against taking
pays
tax
for
dollars,
itself?
when you look at what the impact will be and what the economic investment's going to bring to you and what it will do for your parish, because we're already hearing lots of residents, lots of retailers and commercial and industry talking to Randy Rogers at LEDC, talking to our office, talking to others. They waiting for the shovels to take place so they can come across.
So y'all are getting a business-friendly
It's going to be awesome.
attitude
It will
out
change
there.
the face of Livingston Parish.
Layton, it's great to have you on.
Locke,
This
thank
is
you so much.
Great to have you. It's Locke Meredith with Legal Lines, Layton Ricks, Livingston Parish President. Thank you for being with us.